established a multi-stakeholder team to advise on the way forward. And one of the first key decisions was to establish a situation room. We normally have a crisis management room in our various agencies that normally respond to such issues. But this is in a magnitude of its own, and therefore a situation room of stakeholders was established. That situation room is this particular room that you're seeing. We have all the necessary gadgets to monitor what is happening. It is both physical and remote. I must say it's a 24-hour situation room. It comprises agencies and ministries. There are so many that I would not want to spend time mentioning, but suffice it to say that every key stakeholder is involved. Primarily, the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs provide the leadership. In this very room, the two ministers sat with us and have been monitoring us on a 6-hourly basis, receiving reports, adding value to our decisions, guiding us and providing us leadership. At the end of the day, they have also been receiving briefings that they forward to senior quarters in the country. We did not deem it necessary at the beginning to call a press conference, and we were issuing every day we finish a session, we summarize and send a press conference, a press release. The reason is because of the fluidity of the situation. When you have a very fluid situation and you keep talking about it, it's bound to change. And we're not in a normal situation. We are in a situation of war. We're rescuing people from a war zone. It's different from many other responses that you've had or seen. As a result, we found that until we reach a comfortable level, we'll invite you all to address you. I do not have a structured written document that I'm going to give you at the end of the day, but I have a list of points to make clear to you. And at the end of the day, I'm ready to receive questions on behalf of the two ministers and on behalf of this committee. First of all, let me give you a situation report. It is on record that we have an estimated number of 5,500 Nigerians, including a majority of students, that need to be evacuated from Sudan. And most of them need to be evacuated from a particular spot, and that is Khartoum. We have other locations where universities, Nigerian students are in various universities across that country. So it's not just Khartoum, but the one that is receiving attention is Khartoum. Our attention is on all of them. The attention has been principally on students by the media and by the public, but Nigeria and the instructions received by our ministers is that no Nigerian, irrespective of status, must be left behind. And you remember at the very first meeting we had of this committee, we all pledged ourselves to do everything we can to bring in back every Nigerian that needs to be brought back home. On our record, we have an estimated 5,500. So far, we have been able to move 637 out of Khartoum directly by the federal government to the port of Aswan or its axis in various locations and that place. We have people that have arrived the border of Sudan called Wadi Halfa. We have people that have arrived Arkin, and the Nigerian embassy in Cairo in Egypt has made arrangements to receive this 637, out of which they were able to clear 420. But the Egyptian authorities have not so far cleared them to move into Egypt. The reason is the border arrangements in those locations are different from the usual border arrangements we are used to in West Africa. You need a visa, you need to pay a fee to exit a country, and you need to pay a fee to enter a new country. What the Sudanese border is asking Nigerians to pay is equivalent to $8 for exit, and equivalent for the Egyptian government is asking per evacuated citizens is $25. It's not the money that matters, it's the permission. It is sad to note that so far it's been 3 days. All the Nigerians that are at that border have not been cleared yet, for reasons best known to the Egyptian government. All high-level consultations are ongoing, and I have every reason to believe that it will be positive. They have their concerns, and we have our concerns. Our concerns is to bring our people to safety, and their concern, which we do not know yet, is to protect their country. However, we believe we shall have a point of convergence where they will allow the Nigerians to pass. If they do pass, we already have positioned a military plane in Aswan. Aswan is about 400 kilometers away from the border. As soon as they are cleared, we have arranged vehicles to move them to Aswan, and the plane will bring them. I'm sure many of you have seen the pictures of our first flight that has arrived. We want to use this opportunity to appreciate our Nigerian Air Force for coming into our support. Yes, if you do not have the picture, we have it here. We can share it with you. We have sent in not only a crew to bring these people back, we have included some medications, some food, water, and essential life-saving commodities. As soon as these people join that place, they will first of all be supported before they're evacuated. You should know the terrain of Sudan. Sudan is one of the largest countries in Africa. It has a very expansive border that covers about 8 additional countries. Passing through those borders is extremely difficult. No matter how big it looks, it's a very difficult procedure. So we're working with whatever authorities are concerned to make sure that these people are evacuated. We are tracking every Nigerian that is in those locations. We are aware of the pains and the difficulties that people are facing. However, we are appealing to the public, especially those directly involved, the students and the Nigerians that are in Khartoum trying to be evacuated, and the parents and relatives of those Nigerians that are trying to be evacuated, to remain calm and exercise patience. Some negative discussions, some negative publicity can be very harmful, and there is a limit to what we can say we are doing, because some of it borders on security. Some of it borders on even heavier implications, and that is why we are very mindful of what to say and how to say it. But we know wherever they are, we know the categories of people that are in various locations, and believe me, it's not just the border of Egypt, Nigeria. We have people that have arrived in towns across. We track them, we speak with them, we speak with the local leadership. I will give you examples of states that we have spoken with our people that are in those locations. We have people in Madani, which is several kilometers away from Khartoum. We have people in Gadaref. We have people in Gonda, across in Ethiopia, that have crossed to go to Ethiopia. We are tracking them and making sure they are safe. We have people that have crossed to Saudi Arabia through the Port Sudan. Right now, we have a number that is building up in Jeddah that we have been able to support to reach there, or the governments or other bilateral governments have helped us to ship them into their countries. We have received very good support, and we want to use this opportunity to appreciate the government of Saudi Arabia for taking the pains to carry Nigerians in their ships into their country and alerting us to come and take them from there. We appreciate them. We also appreciate the government of Ethiopia for allowing Nigerians that have crossed to gain access and then go through to Addis Ababa, where some of them are being sent back home. We also appreciate the government of Chad, because the Nigerian ambassador in Chad is very alive to this, watching out for people that have gone across to go to Chad and move through that border. We are working on all the 8 borders. Now, these are for the people that have moved to the border. Let's go back to the people that are in Khartoum. Right now, we have moved out 13 buses of the federal government. The 3 state governments have helped in moving their people. Some of their students that they brought in group on scholarship, particularly the government of Jigawa, the government of Borno State, and the government of Kaduna State. They have moved in a total of about 5 buses. I think the number may increase, but they have moved them. They are now in the border. Whoever has moved them, they continue to remain the concern and care under the care of the federal government, and they are part of the number we are factoring in, and we are supporting them. We are aware that some people are still facing difficulties in locations. It is not because of inability to plan, and it is not because of inability to get them through, but because that is the situation in Khartoum, in Sudan. If you leave Khartoum, it's not like in Nigeria, whether in 1 hour, in 1 day, you arrive at your destination. In some locations, you travel for a whole day. The next thing is the difficulties we are facing in Aswan. Our plane is there now in Aswan, waiting to receive these people, but they have not been able to move them from the borders into Aswan. So clearly there is a difficulty, but that is a difficulty that our principals are trying to resolve. I must say that our principals, the ministers, even the SGF, the NSO, NSA, and even Mr. President have been following up on a daily basis, listening to the performance of this committee, finding out how they can help us and also support us to achieve our goal. We have also sought the support of other international agencies to help us, and they have been very kind with information. The help may not necessarily be physical evacuation, but the information has been useful on how we can move things forward. We are in good partnership with bilateral governments to support our work. And also our team, when we finally bring in these Nigerians back home, is ready for a ground reception. As you can see, the director, the Honorable Commissioner of the High Refugees Commission is here with us. She is ready with her team to receive them here in Abuja. We have decided to centralize the reception depending on certain factors. This is the normal plan. But in war situation, the plan must be flexible enough to accommodate any challenges or any new developments. So far, so good. That is where we are. Because of what we are doing, we have received requests from some neighboring countries to support them in evacuating their citizens. And the numbers are very small. We have requested our principals, the ministries, especially Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and we have an express approval that when we are evacuating those numbers, we should not ignore our neighbors in the spirit of good neighborliness. Other possibilities of making sure that we have alternate routes have also been explored. It's not just either Aswan or Port Sudan that we are considering. Whichever port is becoming more available, we have made our options open, that we are making concrete arrangements for the one that where we are now, and that is Aswan and now potentially Port Sudan. The issue of payment is what I'm sure many of you will want to hear. There's a lot of rumor. Let me set a background. Sudan naturally does not have a banking system that is international. So you don't transfer money from Nigeria to Sudan or from anywhere in the world to Sudan. They rely heavily on the issue of money transfer. They rely heavily on whom you know and whom you can trust and who can vouch in for you to do so. When we received this, when we started this work, we now arranged with the people of Sudan, the relevant agencies through our mission, through our contacts. And let me ask you a question. If in Nigeria you say you are giving somebody deposit for an assignment, what does it mean? It means you calculate the total sum and give a percentage, and when this work is completed, you now give the balance. Is that true? In Sudan, that is not deposit. When we calculated the amount of money required, and please, I pray that none of you will ask me that amount, because we are being distracted by the money mentioned from the real assignment. We are dealing with people's lives, and people are talking about money. This is not the time. We have a room for postmortem. And I'll tell you also the ways we are going about this in discharging our responsibility. So we paid a deposit. As soon as they received the deposit for 40 vehicles, they calculated exactly the amount we gave, and that is 13 point something vehicles with an extra about some thousands of dollars. They now stopped at 13. They gave us 13 vehicles. I'll come to you. Don't be eager to ask questions. They gave us 13 vehicles and closed the matter. All efforts to get them moved, they said, no, that is deposit. Give us another deposit. And that is not the language. We were speaking two different languages. Now that we've understood their language, we have decided to pay everything. So we have paid everything. As I'm speaking with you, tell anybody that you have who is over there to send you pictures, and I have my own. The vehicles are rolling out of Khartoum. And we told them, we delayed them for 3 reasons. We were in a dilemma of what to do. Now that we have sent the first batch to Egypt, it is 4 days in the Egyptian border. Nobody has been allowed entry, not a single person. Should we continue to amass people in that border? Do you know what border means in those desert areas? It means there is no housing, no accommodation. What the pictures you see are small villages where there is no roof. The tree is where some of them perch. Do we send 2,000 people, 3,000 people, 30 buses to amass in Egypt? So we waited to recalculate to move to another port. And as I'm talking to you, I have reliable information that we are going to get easy access through the difficult passage that we mentioned earlier. We may get an alternate access through the Sudanese border of the Port Sudan. Our principals have spoken with their leaderships, and we will get that free access. And that is why we had to delay, and the last batch may move to a different port, or we may maintain 2 at the same time. But the decision right now is to move them to a different port until decisions are finalized. However, we remain flexible. Now, we have also made provision for mop-up. Our embassy staff, I've seen media reports that the embassy staff have taken away their families and left students on their own. That is very, very unkind to the embassy staff. Believe me, when we started discussing with the embassy staff, and I called them almost on hourly, minute by minute, hour by hour basis, I knew how their spirit was. I knew how their strength was. Everything is wearing and tearing on them. And many of them are finding a difficult time. We give kudos to them. We appreciate them. What they deserve is our appreciation and encouragement, not abuse and discouragement. We want to use this medium through you to send to them our appreciation. The ambassador, his entire team, there are very few on the ground, but they work virtually 24 hours, every hour in the 24 hours a day to make sure that these people are evacuated. They are still there. Therefore, we made arrangement for a mop-up set of buses. Those set of buses will not be brought out until after every Nigerian student and citizen has departed. We have their manifests in batches. When they leave, we now make access these other vehicles to those Nigerians that might trickle in or for one reason or the other may not have. Just like today, we realized we also received the report because we sent out for the mop-up and we realized that we need at least 3 buses to pick up from different states, and we're dispatching that. We have attaches there, we have staff in these communities, but the beauty of it is we have a unique advantage in Sudan, where the local communities, many of them speak the local language that we do in Nigeria, one of the local languages. They speak Hausa, and they have communities. And we speak to the local leadership, traditional leaders, and the government to make sure that we appreciate them. Some of them open their houses to them and give them, welcome them. And so we are comfortable with what we're seeing, but I want to caution. We are dealing with an abnormal situation, which is a war situation. Things can change either way, rapidly. And our committee is very much aware of this. In this committee, we have veterans of evacuation. Some of us have been evacuated from war zones in our previous lives. We have somebody in this committee who has been evacuated almost 10 times. And we brought him on board to tap on his experience. Some of us have lived in war countries and worked there. So I want us to ask positive questions. Do not report negatively, because it has a way of weighing down on those who are working hard and those who are in the thick of it. Some of the news I see is so distressing that it's enough to give you hypertension. It's enough to weigh you down if you're in the field. But I want to use the opportunity also to say that it is your reporting that has helped us from the media. Your reporting has helped us to get the necessary advocacy that we're receiving. If you were silent, we would not have been able to mobilize that advocacy and get the support we are getting. So please, can we give the media a round of applause? We appreciate you. With this, I have not come to the end of the briefing, but I have come to a level where we can answer more questions from you. Thank you very much. There are countries that are still packing their citizens, and including America. I have evidence.
You are yet to start.
No, packing. If you say we are yet to start, that is unjust. We have moved people out of Khartoum to the border. Egypt. We have people that have returned to Nigeria. Yes. I do not know the number. Even if, you see, whether private or official, it is our intervention that has helped. I remember the number of days I took, or we took, to clear a set of Sudanese who have Nigerian passports and many other Nigerians who were at the borders to get them at the Egyptian border, at the Ethiopian border. Some of them have even sent back positive video clips saying they have been cleared and they're back home in Nigeria. So do your assignment. Now let me come back to you. You see, if you say we have not started, that means we have not moved people to the border. If you say the number of people that are at the border, waiting to be given entry is no longer within our control. And as I'm talking to you, I just saw the report now, the input, that Mr. President himself has spoken to the government there, and the changes will be seen. It's not that he is just doing it now. So, you see, we had hitches. It did not mean that we did not start. We had challenges that are beyond our control. It's left to the Egyptian border. And we changed the route. We delayed because we thought by moving them still to the Egyptian border, we can get that access. But now it became clear to us it was too difficult. And that's why we moved to the Sudanese border. So I want us to report this positively. Believe me, what you are reporting here makes impact on the psyche of those young boys and girls that are in the border. If you give them a hopeless situation, many of them will hopelessly collapse. And believe me, I won't call myself an expert. As a public health physician, I know we're not going to be dealing with only evacuation. Some people will be sick and they will need medication. Some people will come here sick. Exactly. No, it's not that. With not enough food and water. Not without.
No, before they were moved to the border, they had those issues for about 3 days.
Yes. What I'm telling you is still not no food, no water. Not enough. We have made different arrangements. Our committee here has tracked and catalogued all the locations where there are Nigerians stranded, and we transfer money for them to be picked and given food. And I want to let you know that some of the students themselves know how to arrange and receive such support. They contact us and we make such a difference. There are difficulties that you will not understand as a Nigerian and as a West African. That axis has a totally different arrangement, totally different structure. So another question.
One sec, sir.
Who will give you permission? Is it me?
My name is Stella from Channels TV, and my question, and we do appreciate the severity of the situation. What you said, we should be, when we're reporting this, we should be at the back of our minds responsible and know. However, sir, in the interest of accountability, which is the reason why the money question keeps coming up. It's not necessarily a situation, and that is the reason why these questions keep coming up. We're seeing videos. They're sending videos to all of us everywhere. We're bombarded by videos every minute where they're telling us, oh, the bus drivers told us that they have not been paid. Oh, we are stranded where our sisters are sitting down, where they are sleeping, the place is smelling. Oh, we're hearing, oh, there is no food, no water, there are children here with us. We're bombarded with this. Our passports have been taken away by the bus driver because they say they have not been paid. And there's a figure that came out, with all due respect, 150 million, $1.2 million. So people want to understand what is going on. Is there truth to these videos we're seeing from people who are in, our students and our Nigerians? Is there truth to this? And how much money are we talking about here? We've also heard, sir, from Ambassador to Sudan, released all the media houses have it, where he said, oh, look, the funding doesn't come through me. This arrangement was done by NEMA, and saying that, look, the funding doesn't go through NIDCOM. It is Humanitarian Affairs and NEMA. We need clarification on this situation, sir.
There's also an addendum to
question of finance. I don't want to repeat, so that you can just answer once. Also an addendum to a question of finance. You want us to help you.
Yes. We'll give you all those details.
Yes. We are also hearing this thing, also seen on social media that CBN has not released funds, the funds are stopped. So so that we'll be able to let Nigerians know the exact help on what is happening.
Okay. Now let me come to the money issue. Okay. I can see your eyes all brighten up.
Yes.
And I'm not afraid of that. Yes. You see, when you are budgeting for a response like this, every sector brings in their budget. That $1.2 million you're talking about is not just for the entire response. It's only for one item, for the buses. Do you know how much it takes to hire a bus from Khartoum to the border?
About 1,000 kilometers.
$30,000 per bus. $30,000 per bus times 40 buses. Can somebody, any good mathematician amongst you?
1.2 billion.
That is not billion. Million. That is where your 1.2 million comes into. We now mobilized the first tranche approved by federal government out of this, which is $400,000, and transferred it. If you take out $400,000, what does it come to?
800,000.
No, 1/3
Yes.
of the
Okay,
total.
1/3, yes.
Once they gave us 13 buses, 13 buses times $30,000 is how much? 390. 30. Can somebody calculate for me?
That's 390 is correct.
390. They stopped giving us. You remember I told you they gave us 13,000. They're supposed to give us 13 point something buses. They kept the 10,000. When you are traveling in Sudan, you don't enter a bus and start going. You must load it with water and biscuit. Yes. Believe me, I just became an expert on Sudan overnight. Because every day we discuss with them. And they told us our money is finished, bring another money. We now transferred the balance, started transferring the balance in tranches. And believe me, you don't transfer money to Sudan directly. You have to get somebody who knows the company who will transfer and give cash. Then you go into agreement. We signed an MOU. I have those signed MOUs with us. And at every stage, I report this to DSS and NFIU so that they can monitor the movement of the money. And so that, do you know that in Nigeria, if you transfer money from government account, it does not click because it has a dashboard that can be seen. They will stop it. So we had to alert them. And we sent this money, and it got delayed by the central bank system and what do they call it, SWIFT, the cash transfer, electronic cash transfer system. It got delayed. So they threatened they will not move with the buses. We had to get another means of sending the money to them. So right now we have money that is in transit going to them. They have agreed, but they needed more advance. And believe me, the Sudanese people that were, the bus companies in Sudan, I won't be unfair to the Sudanese people. The bus companies will consider your advance as your money. Once your money is not there, and there is a difficult situation they are in, they are afraid it is a war situation. If you now finish moving people and you refuse to pay them, well, how can they get their money? So they stop at the number of buses they give you. We have faced this 3 times. So it is easier to criticize from outside if you don't know what is happening. And that is how the 1.3, 1.2. And believe me, whoever thinks that 1.2 million will be enough to move people from Khartoum to the border and airlift them to Nigeria is being foolish and naive. The money is much more than that. But this is not the time to talk about money. It's time to talk about lives. I hope I have explained this money issue. And believe me, any of you who needs more details, come to us. We will show you. And there is a disservice that is happening. We have a committee here. As soon as we finish a meeting, Some of our committee members might just pick the documents and share it out. And it is not complete information. It will not make sense to the general public unless you give the full picture. I want to ask you a question. From the time you asked me and the explanation I'm giving you now, are you not better informed?
Yes.
Exactly. But if I was to stop this committee to be looking back and responding to every shout and cry from Nigerians, believe me, we will not be as far as we have gone today. Between now and that day, virtually none of us has slept for 4 hours a day, or 3 hours some. I sleep sometimes by 3 and wake up 4:30, and I start responding. Because the next decision you don't respond, it causes delay. So I hope the money issue, you're happy now. No, I say money issue. And let me tell you also, it is not the procedure. And we pledged Mr. President and the ministers that we will not relent our efforts until every Nigerian is brought back home safely. And in fact, our maxim is safety and dignity. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Excuse me.
There was a report that came from NITCOM. There are about 3 million Nigerians. And it's really, there was a ripple.
3 million Nigerians that are stranded.
They are in Sudan.
Let me tell you, the number of Nigerians in Sudan is more than 3 million. Sudanese of Nigerian origin, if you go to Sudan, in many states, they have the same name of villages we have here in Nigeria, because originally they migrated from here to those places. Don't forget that Sudan was the trans-Sahara route where people were taken to go to Hajj on donkey and camels and goats and horses and by leg. So many of them are lined up in those states. They're still there. Great-great-grandparents, they speak Hausa, they're there. So when you say 3 million, it's an underestimate.
Okay.
How many million?
Thank you.
I don't know.
Yes, sir. No. Your Excellency. No, the issue now is you estimated that 5,500 involved in the evacuation.
Not involved, that have been on record to require evacuation. Some of them do not even know their Nigerian origin, but they know they are Nigerians. So those will not ask for evacuation.
Okay. Now, the number of people in Saudi Arabia, can we get a number? Then you mentioned Ethiopia. It should be specific because
I can give you that figure, but I don't want you are going to be quoting, and I don't want to make mistake because it changes by the minute. If you give me 1 hour, I can call those stations and give you the correct figures.
Okay. Thanks, sir. Now, earpiece. Sorry. Earpiece.
No, let him answer.
I volunteer for free to be part of.
How many aircraft? How many sorties?
I can't answer.
So go and ask Airpiece.
No, sir. We just want to know the situation of.
Let me tell you, we are dealing with a war situation. We are going to welcome any contribution, but we will not wait until contributions are given. We will make our plans with the same Airpiece. We will receive what they give us as gift. We will receive what they will give us as business proposal. We will also open it to others. And whenever the need arises, we have put in place a mechanism. I will give you why I'm saying this. Port Sudan is our new option. Sometimes I feel sad that you have to force information that might even jeopardize operation. But if we don't say it, you feel we are holding information. If Port Sudan is what we have taken, it's a very small port. We are rolling out 30 vehicles today. Sorry, 31. By the time they arrive Port Sudan, there will be no place to put a bus. So what is the solution?
Why?
Because the town is small. The entire town is very small. Many people have lived in those places. So what we have to do is to send aircrafts one after the other. As they arrive, we pick out. As they arrive, we pick them. So now, if we rely on a donated airlifting, can we now take that one aircraft to be picking and picking and picking? We cannot send one aircraft a day. If we have all those vehicles moving in at the same time, we must take in about 5 flights a day. And that means we have to open or add our requests and go and do Oliver Twist to Air Peace and say, give us more, if it is doable. That is why the microscopic thinking of those who think about money and money and money is harmful to the explanations we are giving. But because now it is turning into accusation, we have to give you all those answers. I hope you are happy.
Okay, sir, you started answering my question, sir.
Yes.
My name is Moya Tomo, I report for TVC News. I wanted to find out the number of vehicles that left today. You said 31.
Not left, are leaving. It's a
leaving.
process.
But you said they already started rolling out.
They rolled out and I have the video.
Okay.
But I will not give you because of security reasons. Yes.
So I won't be asking for that. Then I want to find out, we know ceasefire ends today from what the agreement Sudan has with, the US was able to negotiate with Sudan. I want to find out how soon you'll be able to move them out to safety before the ceasefire ends. Especially you talking about the fact that you have more buses to still pick people up. Are you looking to continue this exercise tomorrow when there will be no ceasefire?
Even if, let me start with the difficult case scenario. Even if there is continued aggression, we will continue to mop out Nigerians. 2, even if the ceasefire is over, we'll continue to put Nigerians out of harm's way. And that is why we are here. But the good news is that the ceasefire that is proposed to end tonight has been extended again by 72 hours. And we have our ways of getting intelligence. It's not just from the media. We have our ears everywhere. The functions of this committee is not just to plan in a vacuum. We must coordinate our work, and we're doing it effectively. So I want to assure you that no Nigerian will be left.
Sir, can I ask a follow-up question?
I don't know, she's controlling.
Sir, my name is Musa Obadi from NTA. Sir, you have already told us the scenario, the situation, everything. What is the way out? And number 2, using Port Sudan, I think from Khartoum. So are you going to still budget money for these vehicles that will move them to that by ship to Jeddah or to where?
You see, when initially when you started, your question was sounding like the best question I've had. What is the solution? We have a maxim in this committee. We don't talk about the problem alone. Every one of us here is equipped to raise a problem and come up with a tangible solution. So when I had your question, what is the solution? I thought you were being one of us. But then you digressed and started asking of the rolling out plan. It's very dangerous for me to tell you the plan because it tells what we want to do. It will harm the people. Please.
No, sir, I'm talking about the Port of Sudan now.
To where to take them. No, I will come to that. I will not tell you where we are taking them. It's not good. But we know what we are going to do with them. But let me tell you, you remember I told you we calculated 40 buses. It's not linked to the route. It's linked to the number. If we have already taken 13 to Egyptian border, where will the remaining go? It's not a new number. It's the same 40. So we are now moving them to a new destination. Fortunately for us, the new destination is closer. Do you know how many hours it is from Khartoum to Wadi Halfa and Argin? The Egyptian border. It is 42 to 48 hours of continuing travel. But from Khartoum to Port Sudan is less than 24 hours. How many hours is it? 11 hours. So the bus companies are even happier that we're going for a shorter route, but they will go through major cities. and they'll go through more roadblocks. And that checkpoints and the roadblocks are useful to us. And remember, most of the international community are using some of the roads we are taking. And we do not base our decisions on what we think. We base our decision on what we think is good and what others are doing so that we don't do a different thing and harm ourselves. We get intelligence from our sister agencies. We get bilateral intelligence and we plan. Please don't ask me of the plans we have because it will harm us. Allow me to leave something in my chest. Thank you. You are asking me the estimated number of days to bring them. If I tell you a number of days, wouldn't you think I'm telling a lie? How many days have we expected to bring in people through the Egyptian border? After arriving the Egyptian border, simple stamping of visa. Our ambassador went there, offered to pay the money, even paid some of the money, and only for 420 people were allowed in, were allowed passage. They were not even admitted. They are left there. So, if I tell you 3 days, I'll be making a mistake. If it is my wish, believe me, I had calculated, or our wish, when I use I'm not referring to me, Dr. Gozo, I'm referring to this committee. We had calculated from Wadi Halfa to Aswan is 400 kilometers. Give and take 5 hours. We now calculated how long will it take a Nigerian flight to go to that border. Originally, if it was going through Sudan airspace, it's 5 hours. Now they have to go through other countries and arrive at that border. It has increased the flight to 7 and 8 hours. We calculated that the worst case scenario, by the time they started leaving Wadi Halfa, in 5 hours they will be in Aswan, and our plane will take 8 hours. It will arrive there and pick them. The plane is there waiting. Nobody has come in. So, my friend, I will not give you an estimated time because I don't want you to quote me as lying. Number 2, you are reporting for Reuters. You're asking me to give you the names of countries. Do you think it is diplomatically fair to mention a country that has sought for assistance? It is wrong. So I will not tell you the name of those countries. Thank you.
Today, how many?
I told you 31 buses, but we have reserves that we have kept. And I told them, under no circumstance shall they leave anybody on the ground, even if it's one more person that will enter a new bus. Let them activate our reserve list and bring out buses. So they will adhere to that. Initially, when I asked them how many do you think will be enough, and I asked the students' leader and the Nigerian embassy, they estimated 27. The number rose to 29. The number rose to 31. We still accommodated it. And today, we are adding additional 3 on the road. So we are expecting every bus to carry 49 people. Yes.
Thank you.
So go and do your calculations.
I
believe you're...
Thank you for coming.
Thank you very much.